Hi everyone! Today Chris Jostin, our Esterville, Iowa terminal manager, is going to be giving you a tour of our brand new 2024 Freightliner Cascadias. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and turn on post notifications.
Today we're going to talk about our 2024 Freightliner Cascadias and show you all the different features on our dash and what the different buttons and switches do. So here's the home screen on our dash display for our 2024 Freightliners. As you can see right here, it's telling us our trip miles per gallon, our ambient temp, our battery voltage, what gear we're in, and our mileage. If we press our directional buttons on the left hand side of the steering wheel, we can go down and we can go to our trip meters. If we press our right button on our steering wheel, that goes to our driving assistance screen. This is where you're going to adjust for your cruise control, your following distance, and also for your lane keep assist, which helps you keep in your lane. In order to do that, we want to press this button right here that looks like two little pages. That brings us to our cruise control screen, and we can see now that our lane keep assist is on. If I go down, I can decide which side of the lane I want to be on. Me personally, I like to be about 6 inches off of the fog line, so I would adjust this so it said lane position right. Now as I'm driving down the road, it's going to try and keep me towards the right side of my lane. If you're a driver that likes to be center in your lane, you put that in the center. If you want to be towards the zipper or the hash marks in the center of the lane, you press the left. I'll put that back to the right side. Now I'm going to adjust my following distance. On these trucks, you can adjust anywhere from 2.4 all the way up to 3.8 or 3.6 seconds, sorry. I like a little more following distance, so that's where I'm going to set it at. To back out of that screen, I simply hit this back out button on the left hand side of the steering wheel, and that brings me back here. Now I can go to my other menu options. Here I see my gauges. I got my oil pressure, my front axle temp, my rear axle temp, my applied air pressure, my suspension gauge, how much weight is on my suspension, my DPF filter that's telling me that I don't need a regen right now. And you notice it says to start regen, press OK. So if that gauge was up in the yellow or red, we would want to press OK on our steering wheel here, and that would start our regen. Now remember, in order to do a regen, you have to have the engine running, you have to be parked on a flat surface, preferably not over anything flammable, because our exhaust dumps out the bottom of the truck here and we don't want to start yourself on fire. So a gravel lot, an asphalt or concrete lot is usually best. A regen could take anywhere from just a few minutes up to an hour at times. Now these trucks should not need a park regen up until we get about 500,000 miles. This truck will do what we call a rolling regen. So as you're driving down the road, it'll regen as you're driving as needed. Now if we scroll through some of the other ones, this is for our differential lock. If we had our differential lock engaged, which the switch is over on the right hand side of our dash here, that would show up there and make that annoying noise. And then we can go down to our cruise control and idle adjust, which we were already at simply by pressing this button here. If we go one over to the right, now we can see how many hours are on our truck. And we can run diagnostics. So if we have an engine code or a fault, it's going to show up on this screen here. Right there it says right now we have 0 active alerts. This is to adjust your radio or tell you what's on your radio. And then this final one is to adjust your dash brightness, set your alarm clock, to adjust our dash brightness, adjust our lighting, like when we open our doors, how long the lights stay on. You can adjust if you want it in metric or standard. And then you set your time. You can choose what language you would like it to be in, and any custom gauges that would be back on our other screen over here. So that's our basic display on our dash. Now, some of the other gauges that you see on there, you see our tack, you see our oil pressure. Here's our fuel and our DEF gauge. The fuel is the white needle, the DEF is the blue needle. Here's our speedometer, which we also have a digital speedometer on here. And then you have your primary and secondary air tank and your water temperature. Over here, we have our air suspension, which we saw that we have that as a digital gauge as well. And here's our applied pressure for when you press the brakes. Here's our air conditioning controls and heating. Down here is our trailer brake. So this I use to do a tug test. When I hook onto a trailer, I want to do a tug test. I press that down. When I get to 5 miles an hour, it gives me a nice little tug, and then I can make sure that my fifth wheel is properly engaged. Here's our light switches for up on the top of the cab. Here's our hazard button. Now this LKA off, this is for our lane keep assist. As I said before, this truck will help keep you centered in your lane, or like I said, I like to be on the right side of my lane. Well, you may be in an area where it cannot see the lines very clearly, or be in a construction zone, things like that, and it's going to want to fight you. So in that type situation, you would want to press that, and that shuts that lane keep assist off until you want to turn it back on. So we'll go ahead and turn that back on. This is your automatic traction control. This is your lane departure warning. So this thing tells you when you get 6 inches over the fog line or 6 inches over the zipper, it's going to make a rumble strip noise. Now, as you guys know, if you're in a construction zone, if you're in an area where the fog lines or the zipper are not very easily seen, or maybe you're on a road that they've recently widened and they covered the old fog line with a tar strip. Well, sometimes that'll set that off and say that you're over the fog line when you're actually not. And that rumble strip noise will keep making noise at, time and time again. So you press this button and that shuts it off for 15 minutes. That way you don't go crazy. Now this button here stands for Heyl Start Assist. Now, since we've gone to automatic transmissions, a lot of guys have said that they've had issues backing up. Well, one of the things that I found makes backing up a lot easier is before I ever start to back, I press this button right here, which turns off my Heyl Start Assist. Now, you notice there's no indicator on the button itself. The indicator for this is actually on our dashboard, where it's flashing on the dash there, and that's saying that we have shut that off. So what this does is this makes it easier for you to back in without the transmission jumping all over the place and making you look like a rookie. We'll go ahead and turn that back on. This button here is for our utility lights on the back of the cab. This is for our light test. Now, all of our trucks that are 2019 and newer have this button on there. If you press this button, what this does is it cycles through all the lights on your truck and trailer. So your hazards, your turn signals, your high beams, your low beams, your backup lights, your utility lights, everything. That way you can walk around and make sure everything is actually physically lighting up without jumping back in and out of the truck, turning your headlights on, turning your high beams on, turning your hazards on, your left turn signal, your right turn signal, and all that. Now that usually stays on for 15 minutes, or once you get done, you can go ahead and press the button and shut it back off. Now these final 3 buttons down here This is for your differential lock. So you're in some deep snow, deep mud, things like that. You need to get the truck rolling. While your truck is stopped, you turn that on. Then you put it in gear and start moving. Do not ever flip that switch on when the wheels are spinning, because you could damage the rear end or the transmission. Now this is your kingpin release. This is what releases your fifth wheel. In order for this to work, your truck must be in neutral, your brakes must be set, okay? Then you can press and hold this button and it'll light up on your dash and say kingpin release activated once it is all the way released. Then you can go ahead and lower your landing gear and pull away from the trailer. This is your air suspension. This drops your air. Now, as I've told many of you guys before in previous videos, when we're going to drop a trailer, we want to make sure our landing gear is 1 inch off the ground. When we're going to drop the trailer, you lower your landing gear 1 inch off the ground, you release your fifth wheel, you unhook your hoses, then you pull forward about 6 inches and you flip that button. That's going to drop your air and that's going to let the trailer sit on the landing gear and settle for you to pull out from underneath there. You notice that that's got an annoying beeper as well, just to make sure that you do not forget and drive down the road with your airbags deflated, which would cause severe damage to your bags, could cause severe damage to your rear end, your drive shaft, your transmission. Okay, so the last few things that we want to see here are right up here on our steering wheel. You have your cruise control. You notice there's no on and off button for the cruise control. We just have a set, resume, and cancel. So you get going the speed you want to go, you just tap the set button and that will set your cruise control. Now you can disable it by either stepping on the brake or hitting the cancel button. Once you want to get back up to speed, you simply hit resume. Now you notice that the resume and the set button also have plus and minus signs. That's how you would increase or decrease your speed. So one of the features of our 2024 Freightliners and Kenworths is actually a blind spot awareness. And that is this triangle right here. What this triangle does is this alerts us if there's someone in our blind spot. Now the Freightliner will alert us if there's someone the entire length of our trailer or 20 feet in front. It also alerts us if there's a pedestrian in our blind spot, or say a road sign or a street lamp or something like that as we're turning the corner. It'll actually alert us that there's something in that blind spot, so we want to make sure that we're double checking all our mirrors. So if you see this thing light up, you want to make sure you're double checking your mirrors to see if there's anything actually in your blind spot. Now remember, you don't just have mirrors right here. You also have mirrors on the front of your truck as well. Utilize all your mirrors. That way we can make sure that we're not hitting anybody beside us. These new safety features are not here to replace a good qualified driver. They're simply here to help you out. Another feature of our 2024 Freightliners is the upper bunk. In order to lower the bunk, you turn this knob right here and then you push up on that and the ladder folds out and down so you can safely climb up onto the top bunk. In order to fold it up, you simply grab from the bottom, and then it's got these little red levers here that you just push up and it's firmly latched in place. So this is how you properly open the grill guard. And then to close it, lift it up and pull these levers up just like that. Make sure they're fully engaged on both sides. Okay guys, today we're going to look under the hood of this 2024 Freightliner. Some things have changed where they're laid out and some things that we need to look for. One of the first things I want you to notice on our 2024 Freightliners is our steering gear here. You notice it looks a little different than the older version. That's because this has that lane keep assist, which is electronic over the hydraulic. It makes it a lot easier for you to back in and out of spots, and just driving down the road, it reduces fatigue as well. So what we want to look for is we want to find our Davco filter, and we want to make sure that that's clean. If that is full up to that black line, it's time to change. Otherwise, if you can't see your fins here, that's a good time to get that into the shop and get changed as well. Here's our power steering fluid. Here's our coolant. Here's our dipstick. Now on these Freightliners, it's a little more difficult to get to because you have to reach over and in to get it out. You should be checking your oil every day when the engine is cool. Do not check it right after you shut it off at the end of the day because it's not going to give you the proper reading. So pull it out and make sure you're in between our marks here. And then place it all the way back in. If you did need to add oil, you're going to add the oil right up here at the top of the engine. Now, we carry a couple spare gallons of oil in the side box of your truck. On the other side is where we're going to add our windshield washer fluid. So if you come around over here, I'll show you where that's at. Here's where you're going to add your windshield washer fluid on these 2024 Freightliners. If you have any questions about where anything else is located, please talk to your maintenance or safety department and we'd be glad to come out and help you find it. Inside the cab, we talked about our blind spot system that alerts us if there happens to be anyone inside our blind spot, whether a car, pedestrian sign, or whatever. This is our blind spotter. Now this sees an area right beside your truck and it sees about 20 feet forward and the entire length of your trailer and about 10 feet out. Now this only works if you have your turn signal on. So don't think that if you just turn to go over, it's going to alert you of that. Make sure you have your turn signal on and always check your mirrors before you change lanes. This system here is just to help alert you in case you were to happen to miss something when you checked your mirrors. Thanks for going on tour with me of our new trucks. Now, if you have any questions on anything, how to operate any of the switches, the levers, the gauges, anything like that, please get in contact with your safety or maintenance department, and we would be glad to help you. We want to make sure that you know how to properly operate everything before you get out on the road on your first trip. Thanks again. Stay safe out there.